So me, Kalle Toiskallio, research coordinator of Finnish Wind Project, and Matti Hämäläinen from Forum Virium. We are hosting this RISE session. The whole idea of RISE stands for Research and Innovation Seminar, is to sort of small scale practice towards the center of excellence, and in which the main idea is to combine academic research and cities and companies to discuss with each other for future projects and ideas and anyway be creative together, because the center of excellence is supposed to be also sustainable, meaning that it should have project portfolio enough to be independent, also in economical sense. So that's what we are practicing it here in small scale. Matti is sort of also technical host here. Our Michel is having long vacation. He's in Mexico, I think, at the moment. So we try to survive, but I trust Matti. He's engineer. He can handle technical devices.
Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Yeah. So and we have 3 presentations today. Sanna, Syri professor, will give short introduction to our session, content-wise, and then what was the order? Then is Pauli Hiltunen, based on academic paper presentation on how to help city of Espoo to reach the carbon neutrality targets in energy production, and then we have first time from Vantaan Energia, a company that is, if I'm correct, owned by city of Helsinki and Vantaa, so it's nicely city and company representative, giving that perspective also. So I like to speak a lot, but I try to be silent now, so Sanna can start the introduction for this session. And
Okay.
Please interrupt us anytime you feel so we can have great discussion. So please.
Okay,
Sanna.
thank you. So my name is Sanna Syri, and I am in charge of the district heat related studies of the Finnish project here at Aalto University. So I'm just giving a very brief overview why today's topic is so interesting and so important. Okay, now I have the challenge of changing slides. That always. Okay, now you can probably see the second slide.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
district heat systems, they are very important in transition towards smart and sustainable energy systems. District heat, first of all, it's very energy efficient. So typical systems in European cities are that we have large combined heat and power plants, CHP plants, as a basis of city level district heat production. And for example, in Finland, they usually have really high total efficiency, about 90% of the fuel used when we calculate both the electricity and heat production. But there are also big challenges. The most important one is that most larger city systems at the moment in Europe, that they are very dependent on fossil fuels. And we all know that we have to act very quickly towards less emissions and towards carbon neutrality. And when we look at the cases of larger cities, usually transition to just, for example, biomass is not really a feasible solution. So something else has to come. The city district heat systems, they could also bring a lot of benefits when we are trying to integrate large amounts of wind and solar energy in Europe. So we can, for example, when there's a period of lot of wind power production on the electricity market, we could be producing heat to the district heat network. We could be using heat storages together with heat pumps, so that we could be supporting the whole energy system by converting electricity in a very efficient way to heat, and then utilize that in our cities. So there are big changes needed. This needs new data, new knowledge, and new approaches in all of the companies that are involved in this challenge. Just very briefly, that this is really globally and Europe-wide an important issue. In the left graph, there's the global situation of where district heat is used most. So you can see on the left, EU is there, the first one on the left. Russia is the biggest single market. China is the second biggest. And then there are smaller shares in North America, South Korea, in other Eastern European countries. And in the right side is the share of citizens with access to district heat networks. You can see I have circled both Estonia and Finland. So we are both countries with very much developed district heat systems. Iceland is an exception with their glaciers and the hot water resources that can be very easily used in district heating. But then there are also most Eastern European countries where district heat is used a lot, and it's mostly based still on fossil fuels. This is one basic graph of the recent development in Finland, the district heat fuels used in Finland, and you can see very promising and interesting developments. So in about last 15 years, the shares of biomass and recycled heat have been increasing sharply in the district heat fuels. Peat is much disputed at present in national level politics here in Finland, because it is causing high carbon dioxide emissions, but it's also important source of employment in many rural regions in Finland. But the share of peat is on decreasing trend. So is coal. We have the law already here in place in Finland that by year 2029 we are not allowed to use coal in energy production anymore. Gas has been important, but in recent years also the share of gas has been decreasing. And oil is somewhat old-fashioned fuel, and that is nowadays used only in small amounts as support fuels. And especially this recycled heat development, I think, is extremely interesting. At the moment in Finland, it's already 10% of all production, so it's already becoming significant. And what we mean with recycled heat is that it's heat recovery from sources that have traditionally not been used or utilized. So heat recovery from wastewater, cooling of shopping centers, data centers, etc. And soon Pauli will present our work on especially this utilization of the excess heat from data centers when we are trying to achieve carbon neutral district heat city systems. So just briefly about our work in Finest project. So our goal is to support the transition to smart, sustainable heating systems so that Finland and Estonia can provide internationally leading examples in this field. We have now exactly one year of the project behind us. So during the first year, Aalto Group has modeled especially how this data center excess heat can facilitate the transition towards carbon neutral district heat systems. And we have started a new collaboration with our Taltic colleagues. There, especially the group led by Dr. Anna Folkova has been our key collaborating partner. So we have already several joint research and demonstration initiatives that we are preparing together with her and her group for several Estonian cases. So this was just a brief overview for the topic, and I wonder if there are any questions or comments so far.
Thank you.
Well, yeah.
There's an exponential increase in our audience.
Also for the audience, so please feel free in using the chat as your memo board. So for any topics that come to your mind that we could be discussed afterwards, I'll start doing myself as an example, and then we can maybe discuss these questions or comments during the breaks afterwards.
Yeah. To me, it was a bit surprising that US is not much using this district heating. Is it communism for them to have such a technology?
Might be because it's so popular in Europe. So one reason is probably the structure of the US cities, that ideally we would like to use district heat in very densely populated areas.
All right. Yeah.
So what's the situation with district heating market share in Finland? How it is developing?
It's about stable. I recall 46% of all building area, and it has been quite stable.
Yeah, but let's say in production side, because of a lot of heat pumps will be taken into use, and many are moving out of a district.
Yes, but there's also a lot of new built areas that are connected to district heating, and also district heat companies are using more and more large-scale heat pumps, especially in this case of utilizing excess heat streams. So we talk about heat pumps of several megawatts or tens of megawatts, also within the district heat network.
So district cooling is growing rapidly, but
Yes.
district heating is stable, or is it a bit declining?
In Finland, district heat has been rather stable, and district cooling is a lot smaller when we measure the total amount of energy, but it's growing rapidly in city centers.
Maybe a general question from me as well, related to this district heating versus distributed power production in general. So how do these correlate and or support each other in the kind of national level? So
I think that
if we are going towards more distributed
small-scale distributed production is becoming more common, but still, like the large-scale district heat systems in cities, it's difficult for me to imagine that they would go away from Finland, for example.
Are the district heating systems also kind of reducing in size so that it would be feasible to utilize also in a smaller circuit? Or is there still a minimal critical size that you need to have in order to be utilizing it?
Helsinki company Helen, for example, has been doing also this small scale project in former Sipoo areas, if I recall correctly, and then maybe Petri can tell about Vantaa situation as well.
Once we get to that.
Yes, shall I save it for later, or I can comment now on this?
Feel free to comment right now.
This heat pump district heating situation is very interesting. I from my perspective, it's a matter of price, and so real estate owners obviously want the cheapest solutions for them, and then if the district heating price is too high compared to the heat pump, they might want to change. And I think this can be seen in some cities where the price difference is big or growing. For example, in Hämeenlinna, it's a good example of this. They increased the district heating price, and I think market share of heat pumps there is something like 30 or 40% now, which is very, very large. And but I don't really see it as like in bigger cities, district heating probably is a very good solution. And also like Sanna said, that the heat pumps are being incorporated into the district heating system itself already. So probably there will be some sort of like hybrid system in the future with both solutions, also like distributed, centralized, but and smaller networks and bigger networks. In Vantaa, for smaller networks, the city has been growing mostly in the already densely populated areas that already have district heating. So it hasn't made a lot of sense to build like a separate local network there that is detached from the bigger network. But in a case where a new area would be built into the side of the city, I think that might be a feasible solution for new buildings, especially because they don't need higher temperatures as the older buildings. So kind of like a low temperature separate network that might be connected to the bigger network or standalone. It might be a good solution.
All right. Then we have a tentative schedule. We are not binded to it tightly, but it might be now time for Pauli Hiltunen to take the floor. His well, in the beginning of his PhD projects, I believe, but still published several papers, and one of them that I believe is behind this presentation is as a link in the RIS blog for everybody to read. And Pauli will present almost 20 slides, so I believe that we need to take a bit more time than mentioned in the schedule. But Pauli, feel free to present your presentation now.
Okay, thank you. I believe now it's showing correctly.
Yeah. Now we see the audience view.
So my name is Pauli Hiltunen, and I'm about to tell something about using data center waste heat in district heating systems. So data centers, they use large amounts of electricity for their IT equipment and the cooling systems that are needed to keep the IT equipment working. And some estimates say that it's around 3% of the world's electricity supply is consumed in data centers, and this amount of power will be growing in the future. And most of the energy used in a data center can be recovered and utilized somewhere. For example, in district heating systems. But there is one major challenge for utilizing the data center waste heat is the low temperature of the waste heat. It's usually it's often below 35 degrees Celsius, while the normal temperature in Finland is supply temperature of district heating network is 75 to 120 degrees Celsius. So the waste heat temperature must be primed before feeding the network. Or other option is to feed the waste heat in the return side of the network, but this would increase the heat losses and also decrease the efficiency of the heat production. For example, combined heat and power electricity production efficiency. And in data centers, the waste heat is recovered from the cooling systems, and the typical cooling systems in data centers can be cooled by air or by a liquid cooling system or a combination of those two. And depending on the cooling system, the temperature is from 10 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius, and it's in an air cooling system, it's cooler the air than the waste heat than in the liquid cooling systems. And for this is what kind of cooling system the data center would use. There it's affected by, for example, by the size of the data center and if there is somewhere near possibility for some kind of natural cooling, for example, natural water, river water or sea water, or if the outdoor air is cool enough for cooling the system. And here is an example of how it could look like the data center cooling. So this is air-cooled system, and the air is led through the service racks where it's capturing the heat from the servers, and it's circulated back to it's a computer room air conditioning unit. And here is also added chilled water regulation, which is recovering the heat from the crack unit, and from that the heat pump is priming the heat to suitable temperature for the district heating network. But this heat pump it can be also used directly in the hot cooling air, and so that it's not necessarily needed this chilled water circulation. And we made 2 studies about Espoo case studies, and first one was represented in STEVES conference, which means Sustainable Development of Energy, Water and Environment Systems, and the second study was published in Energy's journal in this summer. And in both of the studies, the Espoo district heating system was modeled using Energy Pro software. So Espoo and Fortum, the energy company in Espoo area, they have decided to abandon using coal in the district heating production by year 2025, and the district heating system should be totally carbon neutral by 2029. And this closed down coal capacity, it will be replaced by a couple of 1 or 2 wood fuel boilers. First one was already commissioned last summer, and then they will increase the heat pump capacity. There will be a new sewage water heat pump unit in the Suomenoja power plant area, and also now recently there have been news about some pilot projects of air to water heat pumps in Espoo also. And then there is this Otaniemi geothermal plant, which should be opening in quite near future. And then also the plan is to increase the waste heat utilization, which one part is the data centers, and there have been discussion about building a new large-scale data center in Espoo. And the goal is to increase the share of renewable sources in the district heating production to 85% by 2026, and by 2029 the share should be 95%. And this transition to carbon neutral system is what we studied in these 2 papers. So in the first paper, we made a total of 4 scenarios. 2 of them which still were scenarios where still the district heating system used coal for the production, and two were that the coal was abandoned and the coal was replaced by wood chip boilers and increased sewage water heat pump capacity. And we assumed the electricity price to be average electricity price to be 61 euro per megawatt hour, and for the hourly price profile, we used a 2016 electric price profile, and then we added 100 megawatt heat pump capacity utilizing data center waste heat, and the running order of the different production units was based on production costs. So the data center waste heat was utilized only if it's profitable according to the production costs, and we assume that the distributed operator pays the cost of the operating the heat pumps, data center heat pumps, and it also would pay the buying price for the data center company. And for that we use the Fortum's public buying prices, which are dependent on the outdoor temperature. Here is an example, and also if the heat is fed on the supply side, it's a little bit more valuable, the heat, but because the decision operator pays the cost of the priming the heat, so it pays the lower price for the data center company. And according to results, the abandoning coal leads small increase, about 2% increase in the average decision production costs. But if the 100 megawatt of waste heat is added to the system, then they can be lowered below, again around 2% below the reference level, which is the coal system still using coal, but no waste heat there, and can be about 80% share of renewables in this production can be reached with this data center waste heat, which is quite well corresponds to the exposed coal of 2025, which was 85%. But here in our model, in this model, we didn't include the Otaniemi geothermal plant there. And also around 70 or 76% reduction can be achieved in the CO2 emissions. Also, we tried originally we used the carbon dioxide allowance price of 27.5 euro per ton, but also tried with the higher allowance price, and it was shown that in this it would be much more profitable, this waste heat against to the fossil sources. And because the heat pumps use electricity for the heat production, the electric price have a big impact on the profitability, and here it can be seen that the waste heat is utilized pretty much around a year, but when the electric price is high, and here in the black you can see the electricity price, there it's not anymore profitable to utilize the waste heat, but instead the CHP production becomes more profitable, so it's kind of shifting, electric price shifts the production from waste heat to the CHP and vice versa. And also the waste heat temperature in the data center heats have a significant impact on the profitability, because if it's lower the temperature, then you need more electricity for priming the heat to the supply temperature. And in the second study, we also explored district heating system, but we use a little bit different assumption in the beginning. And all the scenarios were without the coal-fired production. And in these scenarios with the waste heat, where we also assumed that all also the natural gas-fired CHP production is shut down. And we use 3 price scenarios, 29 euro, also annual average prices at 29 euros per megawatt hour, 54 euros per megawatt hour, and 77 euros per megawatt hour. And then the waste heat pump capacity was increased from 0 to 200 megawatts, and the goal was to reach 95% share of renewables in the production, which corresponds to the Fortum's plan of 2029. And we made this with 2 operation strategies. One which is based on just on the production costs, so same as the earlier study, and then another was where the waste heat utilization is prioritized, so it's always utilized when it's possible. And we achieved the 95% share in all the scenarios, but in the scenario of the highest electric price, it was just barely with this 200 megawatts of the data center heat pump capacity. But if the waste heat utilization is prioritized, then lower capacity would be enough for the goal, but this would increase the costs as the waste heat is replacing some of the cheaper production methods. And the payback time of the data center heat pump investment would be 6 to 7 years in the lowest electricity price scenario, and then in the higher scenarios it's more, and in the highest one it wouldn't pay itself back. It's not profitable. And when shifting from the marginal cost-based operation strategy to the strategy prioritizing waste heat, can be seen that it's mostly affecting on the production of the summertime, and in for example, these heat-only boilers, which for example natural gas using, it's very small the impact on that if it's prioritized the waste heat, and more it impacts more on the geothermal heat and the sewage water heat pumps. And so its conclusion is that it's not very suitable, not too good for covering the peak demands of the district heat consumption. And one solution for this could be using seasonal heat storages, which could shift the load from summertime to winter time, and this could be one topic for future studies. We didn't consider that more in these studies. And here same thing can be seen in figures. So here in turquoise, the data center waste heat, it can be seen that in winter time it's pretty much used at full power all the time in winter, but in the summertime the heat is produced by this sewage water heat pumps and the geothermal plant. But if the waste heat is prioritized, it's not affecting to the peak demand which is produced by the natural gas heat-only boilers, but it's only cutting the summertime production of the 2 other renewable sources. So as a conclusion, utilizing data center waste heat in district heating system can be profitable and can help achieving the emission reduction goals. Electricity price has significant impact on feasibility of waste heat utilization. Higher cost of fossil fuels would ease the introduction of carbon neutral energy sources, and covering the peak demand with waste heat is difficult. So this was my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, please
Thank
do.
you, Pauli. So any questions? Our audience is expanding, which is very positive. Now we have more people almost in the audience than speakers and hosts. Any questions or comments from the audience?
I'm interested in well, I'm totally dilettante here, not specialist at all, but I understood that the market price or in the model different electricity prices were very important. So is it so that you can do the same or apply the same model in different cities if you simply change these prices, or how movable is this model?
Well, it's in this model we have kind of built the system so there is a different production units. So of course, if you make it to another city, you have to consider which kind of units or boilers or power plants they have there. But it's a easy to use the model, and it's not a difficult job to make a model of another city, and then you can choose as a time series. You can input for example, the market price, electricity price to the model.
All right.
Something that, at least in my head, strikes a bit against common sense is your result that if you increase the share of waste heat use, that will make it less economical.
Yes, because
doesn't make sense. That's free energy. If you add that to the system, what makes it more expensive? Is it the investment?
It's not really free energy because we are using heat pumps for priming the heat, because it's data center, the heat is around, let's say, 35 degrees Celsius. So somehow it must be primed or heated more to the
okay.
For example,
that's what I assumed. But it's actually the priming process, not as much the infrastructure investment even. So it ecologically or efficient wise, it doesn't really make sense at this point. Yeah. Is that something that could be improved somehow, or is it about the district heating system? Because again, what I've understood, there are more and more these closed circuit localized solutions that utilize even small amounts of excess or waste heat, and those can be, I mean, if the local investors are doing it, it must be economically justified.
Well, for example, this which been recently considered as the next big thing in a district heating system is the low temperature district heating network, where the supply temperature is much lower. So it will be, in some cases, for example, if from a liquid cooled data center, it can be 60 degrees the waste heat. So that could be enough for the supply temperature. But even if it's a less hot waste heat, anyway, it's easier to prime the heat to the, for example, if the supply temperature is 55 degrees Celsius, it doesn't consume that much electricity for priming the heat. So that's one thing that could ease the interaction of the waste heat.
Thanks. And Petri is also smiling and shaking his head and nodding. Do you care to comment on this?
Yeah. This is a very thank you for the presentation, Pauli. Very interesting topic, and I bet that many big energy companies would like to have data centers pushing waste heat into the networks as like some already do. And I maybe just a comment that maybe Matti, you kind of took my question away. I was supposed to ask like how would the temperature levels in the network affect the profitability of the whole system? Like if like what is the value of dropping 5 degrees, for example, in Espoo regarding these future investments? I think it's a very critical question in the future of district heating. That's something that has to happen. But I guess this research didn't look into that. But also another thing, actually, I thought about that you had a model for the system, but was it only like for the production side? There was no like model for the network where physically the units are.
Yeah, and it is Energy Pro. It's at least very difficult to model the network. So it was only the production side, and then the consumption was like just a megawatts per hour which you have to produce. The network wasn't modeled.
Yeah. Okay, that's usually it's like that, because that, like you said, the network is extremely difficult to model.
Yeah, and in a big city like Espoo, it's quite big, the network also.
Thanks. Any further questions or comments? I have a long list here, so there should be enough stuff for discussion afterwards. But any?
Yeah. I have one question from Taltech.
Please,
right. Sorry, I came a little bit late. Maybe I missed something, but I have just one question. Did you consider that all the possible flexibility services that the heat pump-based district heating system can provide for the power system?
Well, no. Just that there was a
because if you provide with, or how to say, district heating system anyway has certain flexibility capability. So it means it can somehow participate also not the common day-ahead market, electricity market, but it can probably also participate in how to say it, balancing market, the prices on the balancing market, or even on the it can provide some certain system services, and the prices on the balancing market, or even prices for the system services, electricity prices, I mean, are quite different, and it can make your solution much more profitable than you have expected in your study.
Yeah, I can agree on that, but we didn't consider that on our studies.
Maybe in future study, maybe we can cooperate here.
Yes. Yeah,
Sanna seems eager to comment on that.
Yes. I also wanted to say exactly the same. Hello, Argo. Good that you made it here. So thank you for this excellent suggestion. And this is clearly a topic for next year for us working together. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for answer.
Perfect. Anything further?
Wrong. I just have to say it's just an anecdote, but well actually I formulate as a question to be polite. I've understood that there are many, even in greater Helsinki area, there are several data centers already, and the capacity is not at all used. So there's free capacity. And is it so that the actual use of these data centers might be then this waste heat production actually? sort of very important side product, probably not at all planned to be so in the beginning. Is this sort of new innovation to utilize this waste heat from data centers?
It's not totally new. And for example, in Espoo, there are already a couple of data centers connected to the district heating network, but those are like around 5 megawatts. The capacity of those. So in this study, it was much higher the capacity, and the 100 megawatts what we used is based on what they are now planning to build in Espoo. I don't actually know how is the plans going, but I guess it's still in the planning phase. But it would be large data center around this 100 megawatts, which was used also here.
True. Yeah. Well, the anecdote comes here. The planned data center by Fortum in Hepokorpi area next to Oittaa recreational area will wipe off my house. Because city of Espoo is willing to make this area as a sort of 300 meters protection area around the plant. But of course, this is I'm happily giving this sacrifice to waste heat production.
So literally, you're in the way of progress.
Yeah, yeah. So old school, man. Yeah, and also my city apartment is very next to Katrivala Park, so I seem to be in very central positions dealing with energy production. That was mentioned in the Pauli's paper, not in the presentation. All right.
Sorry, Sanna, did you have something?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no.
Okay.
So, okay.
I could actually comment on just kind of came to my mind this flexibility issue that Argo said, and I remembered some news article from Google that they might actually shift the processing load of data centers according to renewable electricity and probably according to prices as well. So like in this article, did you assume that waste heat production is constant from the data center? Because it actually might vary if there is capacity to process data. They can shift from like Hamina to Espoo and different data centers.
Yes, we assume that it's constant, the heat production in data centers, but I have also read articles which is mentioning this kind of that timing the data center processes in the hours of low electricity price, for example, and also for hours of high wind power production or so far.
Yeah. It makes an interesting optimization case if you optimize it based on electricity price, but also based on the waste heat price.
Yeah.
What the data centers
and that of course would also bring more profitability for the waste heat as the waste heat is produced when the electric price is low. So it's also like supporting the heat pumps which are priming the heat.
Yeah, exactly.
I could maybe briefly comment that it is often difficult to get information from the actual production of the data centers. They are not very eager to distribute that to researchers. In my group, Mikko Wahlroos made PhD a couple of years ago about that, and he succeeded in getting actual time series of production of one data center, how they really were operating. But in general, the data is not easy to get.
We can talk about companies and data issues after my presentation. I think I have a lot to say about this. But,
Okay, so shall we continue with Petri's presentation?
Yeah. That was good discussion, bridging towards Petri's presentation. So please, Petri.
Thank you. Sure, I will try to put this.
So this is historical moment. Petri is the very first company representative giving presentation in these RISE sessions.
Good. No pressure. So do you see my slides now?
Yeah.
Is it in the correct form?
Yes.
Well, it's big
It's in
enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Audience
Great.
view.
Great. So first of all, thank you for inviting me here, and it's nice to be in good company, even though it's a smaller group. But the conversations are even better than I have found. So yeah, I'm Petri Penttinen. I'm from Vantaan Energia, and regarding the slides, I just have like a general slide set of the company, and I thought like in the end we could have more conversation about. I can give you a few examples on how we utilize data and what I see that the challenges and the future challenges might be for us, and what the opportunities are as well. But maybe first of all, I can tell you a little bit about my background. I have been working for Vantaan Energia for almost a decade now in different kinds of jobs. So I started at the maintenance department. I have been basically fixing valves and pumps and stuff like this some time ago, and then I went to the power plant side, operating different kinds of power plants, basically all of the power plants that are here in Vantaa. And after this, a few years ago, I changed to our head office here in Tikkuriala, which is currently extremely empty. It's a bit creepy being here, but I've been doing lately work related to strategy, new business, so kind of like in a supporting role for different kind of energy solutions for salespeople, and previously when we were selling through our own kind of unit, solar panels and electric car charging stations, before we made that into its own company, I was doing that as well. And one big part of my work actually is research, and we are taking part different kind of research projects all the time. So they are starting and ending. What we are doing now is most related to circular economy. We have also one project related to small modular nuclear reactors for district heating, which is quite interesting, but it's in the very early phase. And then there's some hydrogen projects that we have going on. So many things, and I guess all of these things are like let's say that they are not so straightforward always. How to figure out where to put them in the palette that we have here in Vantaa. Good. And actually, as it happens, I'm doing PhD in Aalto University as well. So I have this kind of like part-time PhD, not nothing full-time, but still ended up through a research project into a research group, and they kind of like tempted me into doing a PhD. So I'm going to do that for the foreseeable future, probably. So a little bit about the company itself. Basically, we are like a typical energy company in Finland. We are city owned. We produce electricity and heat in the Vantaa area. Back in the day, when Vantaa was economically a bit challenged, they sold 40% to Helsinki, and that's why we have two cities as owners instead of one. But it gives good perspective, I think, the ownership. Lately, so at the beginning of this year, we also purchased and started operating the district heating systems in Järvenpään, Tuusula. So we have expanded the business a little bit, and yeah, that's about this. Let's run through this a bit quickly, so we have more room for discussion. So the company is about 300 employees this year, on average 14 years career length, average age 45 years, and mostly men. It's a typical like heavy industry company, but the share of women is hopefully growing in the future. We also have quite a lot of, even though we have like longer careers, we have quite a lot of like new employees, which is always good. And yeah, turnover to 295 last year, and the profit was 58 million. Yeah, this is the company's structure. Maybe not so much about this. So basically, we have different kind of production assets. Hydropower in Finland and also Norway, and then we have the electricity grid company where we own that is operating here in Vantaa, and then we made our own electricity sales company, Oomi, last year I think it was, and a customer service company called Ensin. So this is maybe the picture I wanted to talk to you a bit more about. So as most energy companies and cities, we also have like quite strict emissions goals for the coming years, and we have made this graph about how we are seeing, let's say, until 2030. This is quite clear what we are going to do, and maybe after that it's a bit more fuzzy what the solutions will be, but what we have decided to do already, that is pretty much for sure, is that we will phase out peat, which we have only about 5% from all of the fuels, quite a small amount. We will phase it out next year. After that, we will phase out coal in 22, and by 26 we will, or during 26 we will phase out natural gas. So that's the goal for 26 is to be fossil free. So we started from about 1 million tons per year in 2010, and now we are somewhere there, actually, because of the warm winter last winter, and this year has been quite warm also. I think we are going to be pretty much halfway down this graph this year. Yeah, so for and there's like small under the bigger headlines there's small smaller things. Geothermal heating plant, we are building that now in Varisto. That's going to be kind of like a pilot thing to test out the feasibility. It's going to be 2 kilometers deep well with heat pumps, and it will produce district heating. And all of these new things, they're like extremely interesting in figuring out how they actually work for the district heating system. Phasing out coal 22, we are now building an extension to our waste to energy plant. So all of the waste from the capital area comes to our waste incineration plant. So this is the main source for the energy in Vantaa. After that, we are planning for 26. We are planning the world's largest seasonal heat storage. At least according to all of the sources I found, it will be the world's largest, about 2 million cubic meters and 90 to 100 gigawatt hours of energy. So this will kind of try to tackle the issue that Pauli mentioned in his presentation about kind of like the mismatch between production and consumption. So obviously all of the waste heats and well, waste also is constant that we have to incinerate because landfilling is not allowed anymore. And the waste heats that we are collecting from data centers and processes usually also kind of come to the network in the summertime. So we found that this is the most feasible solution for us to transfer the summer production into for the winter. And also this the storage gives us a lot of flexibility regarding the electricity market. You can have heat pumps or electric heaters connected to it, and when the electricity price is suitable, you can charge it, and later on you can discharge it. You can also add solar thermal collectors that we have been looking for a lot of 1 hectare for those, so we can store that energy from the summertime. And then later on we have actually in 26 this there should also be a power to gas project there that we are now planning. So we would make hydrogen, and out of the flue gases from the waste burning, we would make combine that into methane, and we would pump it into the natural gas network or use for vehicles. So these are kind of like the things that are quite clear for us. And after this, we have later on we have different carbon sink projects. The small nuclear reactors are possible maybe later, and this is like these are not really feasible economic solutions at this time yet, but that's why we are researching them now. Also from this kind of graph, if you look at the very end, 45, it says producing energy by combustion ends. So first of all, we see that the first thing that will happen will actually be the combustion of biofuels. I think now it's a big thing, and in Central Europe might be even bigger still for some time. But here, since we are phasing out peat, we are phasing out coal. Natural gas is clearly next, and then probably biofuels. I think all combustion will end at some point. So we are already now thinking about the solutions, what we will have to do then later when nothing actually can be burned yet. Obviously, we now have the waste management issue, but hopefully this can be mitigated by better recycling that we are going to do in the coming years as well. So actually, this is my last slide, and I would like to kind of like have the conversation around this. And I have a few examples of things we have done. So that was like the company presentation. It was like what we are actually now doing. This is maybe what we should do, in my opinion. And now it's problematic because this is recorded, so I might get caught with saying something that we have to do. But if so, then that's good, I suppose. So I just googled crazy future technology and found this picture. It's from BBC, I think, and I think it has some elements there that might also, this is maybe consumer side of things, but in the end they pay the bill, so everything has to be designed for them as well, not only from like a systems optimization perspective. And I think this is maybe the main topic would be like data and optimization in energy companies, and I kind of divided into two: what we have been doing, what we are very good at, and what we probably have to do in the future. So I think process improvements are something that energy companies are very good at. So you build a boiler and then you tweak it a little bit here and there, and you get like 99% efficiency out or something like that. And it's basically usually it has been like mechanical things or like optimizing fuels, fuel air ratios and things like this. It is going more to the IT side, but it has been like very kind of like engineering perspective on like, let's put this on paper and just see like, okay, here we can get 1 kilowatt here and 1 kilowatt there and end up with a better system. I think this is yeah, it's going more to the IT side, and I think it is going from like a single process to optimizing the whole system, and like Pauli said that like modeling the networks and production all together is difficult, and it is difficult. But this is what we are already doing. But on top of that, we also have to model the consumption side. So we have to make predictive models. We have to forecast better. We have to collect more data, and this is maybe something that the companies are not so good at the moment, because it involves actually a lot of IT architectural issues. Data security obviously is one, and just like basic data related things that the companies have not really considered yet. It's quite easy to put measurement devices into your power plant and run that on the automation system, because you own it, you own the whole lot, all of the data is there. But now that you start to collect data from here and there and move it in the cloud and doing analysis and stuff, I think this is something that the companies still have to practice a bit with. So I can give maybe two cases. One would be something that went well, and the other one is something that didn't go so well. So I don't know. Maybe I start with the negative one, because it's better to finish with positive things. So we tried to implement this kind of predictive model for different controllers for one of our coal boilers, and it didn't go so well. The idea was that there's small fluctuations in the combustion process, and the predictive model for the controllers would actually pick this up based on historical data and learn and improve to be better. But instead it kind of like developed a mind of its own and started actually causing more of these fluctuations, which someone might say it's only like an algorithm issue or something like this. But it was a combination of the algorithm maybe not working so well, and the actual physical devices not responding as quickly as they should have, or as well as they should have. So I think it was a good example of trying to improve a process with the kind of like the old traditional way of thinking, that we can just get 1 kilowatt more out of this. And then you added a layer of data there, but you still had the old hardware behind it, and the combination didn't work so well. But another case is our new biofuel boiler that was just finished last year, I think. And with that, because it had new equipment, a lot more measuring points, we were able to create a digital twin and model different scenarios on that, and see actually in what kind of situations you might get a little bit more power out of the boiler. And actually this whole project went quite quickly and quite well, and the end result was a little bit more production from the boiler and lower emissions, because we got more out of the same amount of fuel than what we used to have. So just two quick cases about optimization. I think going forward, and these are the things that we can discuss more, is that the amount of data will grow a lot. It has already grown. Some days ago, I was talking to a manager from our electricity grid company. He said that from the days that he started, electricity meters used to be read by hand. So someone would actually go there and check, like, what does it say? And they wrote it down. And we had nine people doing that. And that was done once a year, I think, or maybe twice a year. So nowadays, we get the data every day. We have 3 times the measurements what we had then, and we have 3 guys. So from 9 people to 3, and 3 times more data, and the interval is 364 times than what it used to be. So obviously this shows the power of how kind of like automating data collection can improve efficiency on like a company level. This is more to more related to billing. Usually these systems work really well on the billing side, but then if you go to the production side, collecting data and analyzing it, making adjustment based on the analysis, and actually sending some feedback back to the systems where it was analyzed, collected from. That is a bit more tricky, but that's something that I think that we have to do. And actually in this we come to all of the distributed systems that we will probably see more in the future. I think this the waste heat from data centers is one. So if we want to have this flexibility, we have to measure them in real time. We also have to be able to model them and kind of predict what will happen, and model them in a way that what we think that should happen. And then we have to be able to send some feedback to the systems to make actually the adjustments that we need to get the desired outcome. And I think this is, you can do it with one or two machines, but when you have a city of like Vantaa is about 200, a bit over 200,000 people. I think district heating, we have over 5,000 buildings connected to the system, and that it creates a complexity. And then you add the electricity market on top of that, and all of that, the fuel markets, the heating market that is actually between the cities and things like this. It makes a very, very complicated, very interesting problem. But yeah, I think I will just finish on the note that what we do need in the future more from energy companies like ours is willingness to test, try, and fail with new ideas, and also, as mentioned before, also willingness to give out data. We probably don't have the best people at the moment to create models of new systems that we have actually never seen ourselves. So actually we need help with that. But we do have the data, and we do have the expertise of the traditional energy production side. So maybe that's something that we can have a discussion on. Thank you. That was the official presentation.
Thank you.
All
Petri.
right. Data available. That's usually the researchers'
I would
dream.
like to say at this point officially, wow. So yet another really great presentation today. Is there any comments or questions coming from the audience before Kalle and me will start pounding Petri and trying to engage everyone into a dialogue?
Yes, so I would like to start that we are of course very interested in collaboration regarding all advanced data analysis, and there are several groups across Aalto that could probably be very, very useful to you. In addition to this freeness project, also I was thinking first at the School of Science and Systems Analysis group, and we of course know the professors there, so it will be easy just to gather a group of suitable people whenever you have some suggestions where you would like to collaborate. Sounds great.
Thank you, Sanna. I hope that the discussion will then continue between you two for the future reference. Any other comments or questions from Pauli or from Jarek? Since everyone else has already disappeared. If not, then maybe I'll take the floor. I have a ton of questions, but first of all, this kind of general discussion seems to be kind of between ecological optimization versus economical optimization, and I think Petri, your perspective should be kind of on the economical. How much do you see that there's a conflict between these two? Because based on, again, my basic understanding is that if you're saving energy, you should be saving money along with that. That's the kind of general assumption. So,
yeah. Well, I see it like this. if you don't do sustainable business, after some time you will not do any business at all. And yeah, it's true that these new technologies, they will probably cost something to implement them, to pilot them. It will cost, and also energy savings. Obviously, we will sell less energy, but it just makes more sense in the bigger picture. So I think kind of like this conflict that usually comes out is that, but hey, you are an energy company, shouldn't you just sell as much energy as you can to make as much money as you can? Well, first of all, like, we are city-owned company, so all of the money we make goes back to the city, and the people who live in the city, they pay for the energy. So it just goes around. I think to maximize it might not be a very long-lived idea. And I think you can do in the energy, like what happened with mobile phone subscriptions and mobile phones and telecommunications earlier. This is like a very old saying, but it will happen with energy, and they have been saying this for very long years. So we will go more from like selling just like a certain thing. For example, now we're selling megawatt hour or kilowatt hour for euros, and we will go from a certain like what you call it, like from one product to services. So we will just sell the end result, and the end result obviously with heating is like a comfortable indoor temperature. I think this is what all of the energy companies are now doing. So it's not about energy anymore. It's just about what is actually suitable for the real estate.
Are you creating business models to match that? Because again, the current discussion in Finnish newspapers even this week has been about optimization of temperature in individual apartment buildings. It's a known case that some buildings have way too hot temperature, which means that they are keeping the windows open, while others are using additional electric heaters to get to a comfortable temperature.
Yeah. I think we at the moment we don't sell this like in Vantaa we don't sell. You cannot buy a product that gives you 20 degrees inside, but I think it's going to that direction. I think it also has to, and maybe even more so. It has to go to the direction of like an energy service where you can get whatever people need nowadays. They want solar panels, they want electric car charging, they want comfortable inside temperatures, they also want good air quality. So something to do with ventilation as well. And I think these will be the future business models.
How do you see the time frame in this? So how long will it take for any major steps in this, and how could this be
caught when I say something?
You being an expert, so expert perspective, not facts.
I think it has to happen in the next few years. I think so. Like if you think about the goals, all of the climate goals, most of the cities, they say they will be carbon neutral 2030 or 2035. If the energy system is not carbon neutral, the cities cannot achieve their goals. And if the cities don't achieve the goals, the country doesn't achieve its goals. And for the energy systems to go to that direction, you have to change the business models. I don't see how it would work with the same old business models. Or then you have to be prepared to maybe cut half of your business, but that's a bad proposition for any company.
Well, representing a huge project that has very ambitious, let's say, more technological objectives and really large research portfolio, what could we do? What could be kind of the minimal scale of demonstration that could be done that would be leading to this? So how could we do? What would be required for that so that we could do it within a year or two? Make me worry now this time.
I think like a city block would be interesting to test like a new concept on new pricing model, new production model with buildings of different use cases. I think kind of like a solution for a single building might be too easy. So that you can pilot with a new type of product quite easily, I would say. But like a new area, new developing area in cooperation, for example, with the city that is developing something, or some construction companies, research institutions, and the energy company. I think that kind of pilot would be very interesting.
Are you able to take it forward in your side if we are pushing it forward in our side? Well, I'm representing Helsinki, so in Kalasalo we are doing similar experiments.
Sure. Like these are some things that we talk about all the time here, and we also discuss this with the city and different developers. So I guess it's more a matter of timing. Now, obviously, this year has been a bit unusual year for everybody. So a lot of projects are kind of on hold. But it's something when new areas. We did a research project related to Aviapolis area, which is a newly built area, and that was like mostly research, no practical implementation. I think it would be good to build on that, for example. But
Aviapolis is largely commercial buildings, though, right?
It is so far, yes. But there will be a lot of apartment buildings. There will also be some offices, kindergartens, grocery stores. It is developing quite a lot in the coming years. But obviously, this is all based on the idea that the city will grow, and if that changes, then everything changes. There's a lot of moving parts in this. Actually, this is what I thought about when Pauli was talking about this waste heat from data centers. That the energy companies would really like to have these, but you need the company that actually needs a data center, and how to get them to the cities. It's the same thing with real estate development. If you want to try out a new energy system in an area, you actually need the area. Someone has to build it, and to get all of these stakeholders to work together sometimes takes a bit of an effort. It takes time, obviously.
And Sanna and Pauli, would you be interested in collaborating in this kind of research endeavor?
Certainly.
Yes, sounds interesting. I would be happy to collaborate.
Yeah, I think one like a new area development is a very interesting concept, and the other thing is would be like a system level optimization, digital twin, data analysis, something like this. This sort of concept of research.
What's your idea of your PhD work? Is it? Can you say something about it? Could it be the bridge between these stakeholders?
Yeah, it's a possibility. Now it has been related to. Well, it has actually been related to kind of like district energy solutions and also system level solutions. So I think, yeah, that might something I feel might be something that would be good to combine with this. It's a win-win situation. I get my studies progressed and actually work done.
Could you go back to your timeline slide?
Yeah.
Your promise of what will happen in the future. It's really easy to predict the future, as we all know. When you're looking at, we're looking at year 2045, so 25 years from now, which is a very, very distant future still. Are you, in these kind of scenarios, are you also seeing the emerging technologies and how they will affect the larger system, like, for example, just the maybe increase of distributed energy systems, which would have maybe more combined heat and power units that would be then based on natural gas, or in worst case even in fossil fuels? What kind of impact they would have, and could those somehow be connected back to the system, maybe in a different way than conventionally?
I'm not sure if I understood the question.
Well, there are emerging technologies. Let's say, for example, solid oxide fuel cells. So fuel cell systems that do not exist yet. We know that technology is under development, and there will be smaller from 25 kilowatts to a couple of megawatts size units, which might change the system completely.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of game changers. I think what the thing that is now clear is that wind power will increase a lot, and this kind of makes all of the other electricity-based solutions more interesting, like heat pumps. That's something that's happening now. Maybe something that is a little bit yet to come is this power to gas. And by the way, in this picture, power to gas is there written on 2030, but now we moved it to 2026. So this picture has been updated at least 3 times this year. I think this 2045 will move a little bit earlier also. So I think it's like a work in progress. It changes constantly. But power to gas, clean hydrogen from electricity, that's definitely something that will be interesting. So that will probably replace some of the natural gas, also might replace some of the fuels for transportation. And in maybe 10 to 15 years, the used batteries from electric cars, it might create some system level changes also to the electricity system. At the same time, heat pumps are getting more and more profitable. Solar power is getting more and more profitable. That's a good combination usually, and that probably will change a little bit the heating side. I think something like really distant things like phase change materials for storing energy, or these nuclear reactors for district heating. It's very difficult to foresee how they will change the system, because the profitability and everything is the scale is so wide that you don't really know how much this kind of thing will cost. For the small nuclear reactors, they say that once they are manufactured in mass in the factories, they will be cheap, but first you need the first version that will be very expensive. So we're still waiting for those. But I think there can be a lot of things that we don't see. Like I said, that our company is over 100 years old, and sometimes people think traditionally in these older companies, and there might be something like totally new that nobody can expect. But maybe Amazon comes to the energy market and just buys all of the energy companies in Finland. Makes energy you can buy with a phone or something. I don't know.
Well, Sanna and Pauli, what are your predictions on the forthcoming changes in the systems level? What would be likely to happen within the next 5 to 10 years, and what do you see will be the triggering maybe larger system level changes?
I fully agree with Petri that these longer term game changers, it's extremely difficult to estimate at the moment, like which one of these possible technologies will be the game changer. Also, people in my group have done some work on the modular nuclear reactors and done some modeling how that could fit and help Finnish cities in the district heat carbon neutrality issue. But the big question mark there is that what will be the price? How expensive are they, and when can you buy them from Amazon or wherever you then buy them? So for us researchers, it's important to try to analyze different possibilities, but then the big uncertainty still remain. And on the other hand, this is a hugely interesting field to work with. This is certainly not boring. It hasn't been boring in the past 10 years, and it will not be boring by the time that I retire. I'm sure of that.
I'm sure.
Yes, I agree also that it's, I cannot, I don't know how to predict what will be the biggest thing in a far future, but at the moment it seems that these heat pumps and those are built in Helsinki and Espoo and I guess in Vantaa also and in the big cities. So at the moment that's the trend, but in a far future it's more difficult to predict what it will be.
In Pauli's tables, I saw that the taxation is quite big thing compared to many other factors. What has been the history and your insight of the future of taxation? Is it stable factor or is it potential changer also?
Well,
For Pauli.
maybe Sanna knows better about fuel taxation, but in this my study, I assumed this electricity tax to be lower. Assumed it to be the class 1, but the lower class of the taxation, which is now considered to that the government should lower the taxation for the large-scale heat pumps in the district heating system. That's the one thing. But of course, the fuel taxes, it's an important issue.
Yes, I can just briefly comment that certainly the state of Finland will continue high taxing of fossil fuel combustion in the energy sector. So that's a good basic assumption also for the future. And probably Petri wants to comment as well.
Yeah, about the fuel taxes. Fuel taxes are going up 1st of January, I think, again. So this will definitely not change. And like I think this is related to my comment of sustainable business. So if you don't want to change your system, you will be driven out of business probably through taxation as well. But for other taxes, it is sometimes a bit difficult to foresee this. I think the biggest changes are probably for electricity. Maybe not the taxation is might not be a big question mark for companies. I think the bigger issue is how the system price will change in the future, and this is what we try to forecast.
Okay, then again, this was a question in my list already earlier on. So the electricity dependency, for example, Pauli, in your charts, that was maybe even the driver of your studies. So what type of scale would be required in order to build autonomous units that would not require external power at all, but would be self-sustaining? You could operate on island mode. What's your understanding, or something as well? Well,
in a data center, it's still the biggest problem is the temperature of the waste heat. So it's, I would say that it would require the lower supply temperature of a district heating network to be able to directly feed the heat to the system. But of course, then can be some solutions. For example, producing the electricity yourself, or
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, fundamentally, you don't need electricity if you can somehow convert the energy through other processes.
And
even heat pumps do not require electricity. That could come from somewhere else. So are there studies on that, or is that something still?
Yeah, I haven't studied that, but there are of course there are some solutions where you can limit this electricity dependency, but as far as I know, it's not common and not that much studied either at the moment.
What about Petri? Because again, I would say that you're representing a company that used to be electricity company, and now is, like you're saying, is perhaps shifting towards more sort of general electricity or general energy provider? How do you see this issue?
Well, I think from kind of like a building level perspective and energy use, on-site energy production for the needs of the building is challenging with the technology now. So electricity needs usually buildings have kind of a high electricity consumption when the sun is not shining, and obviously the heating needs in Finland are quite high. So kind of like fully self-sustaining energy production on site is challenging to say the least. But I guess that's where we come to the new kind of energy. How would you call it? Like energy communities. That if there is buildings with different kind of usage profile of energy, they might help each other out by combining the production of both buildings, and then because the use kind of like overlaps, it's not at the same time, that might work. But still for solar panel production, I think there were some estimates that it might be 10 to 20% of the energy use in buildings in Finland, the on-site solar panel electricity production. So it's still quite far from 100%.
That, for example, just a small scale, that would be targeted instead of producing energy directly to the household, but would be, for example, used for operating heat pumps. Then again, the efficiency would scale up naturally from that. So
yeah, definitely, especially if the heat pumps are used for cooling. I think it makes perfect sense. You need cooling in the summer, and usually the sun is shining when you need the cooling. So why not produce the electricity for the pumps while you do it?
And business-wise, I mean, business-wise, again, that would make sense, because if that power is not taxated during or between the solar panels and the pumps, then that reduces the costs coming from electricity. So that even increases the efficiency, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, definitely. The more you can use yourself without using the network, that's bad for me to say, but the more profitable it is for the real estate owner.
But then you need to invest to devices.
Yes, yeah, and this is the main issue. Actually, I wanted to kind of like make a comment on this, that all of these systems, we need to renew them, and from the energy company side, we are making like really big investments to clean up the systems. But at the same time, for example, to lower the temperatures in the network, we also need investments in the real estates, in the building side, and the owners of the buildings are kind of like a mixed lot. So some might actually not have the opportunity to invest into the building, or some might not want to because their main business is somewhere else. And usually the renovation rate of buildings is quite small in bigger cities. So I think even though in Vantaa majority of the residential buildings are built in the 70s and 80s, I think still they are being renovated quite slowly. So kind of this assumption that everybody will put the solar panels because it makes economical sense might still not happen due to 50 other different reasons. But then we get back to the energy service as like model that maybe someone else should do the investments then.
Is there in Vantaa any plans for a pilot project of some lower supply temperature network? Well,
we have. So we did this research some time ago for our main network, how much we could lower the temperatures. We have been doing that for a few years now. I think next year it will be even more systematic. by using data from real estate. I think this is something that you have to do anyway. And then there's the new areas, and there is like one. It's not really decided yet, but there is like one potential area for like lower temperature network, but it's it kind of like still in the phase that there is actually nothing there, not even a city zoning plan. So it is moving along quite slowly. But I think that would be a really good research kind of case.
What kind of, again, what would be the minimal size, or what would be the scale that you could build for a pilot? How large or how small could it be?
I don't really think there's like, you can have one building, but then you cannot really test like a system because it's only one building. So I think you would need several buildings with different use cases. Let's say like a neighborhood with few residential buildings, maybe a kindergarten, maybe a grocery store. I think this is already might be interesting because the consumption profiles are different. Let's say like rooftops are different compared to the consumption and things like this. So like a few buildings.
Okay, and of different types so that you can get diverse data.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Let's say would be very interesting to have a city block with the composition of the larger city. Let's say that you have like most of the buildings are residential buildings, then there is some schools, and then there's some offices, maybe even a little factory or something like that. That would be very interesting because it would be like a miniature version of the city.
Let's keep that in mind. Maybe we can somehow facilitate this process as well.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it's now 1:45.
All right, let's end this before everybody leaves. That's always good rule.
Or falls asleep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.